In 1986, the love story of Rachel's parents began at a Jewish singles mixer in Brooklyn. Her mom, Joanna, the DJ, and her dad, Stan, an economist nerd, hit it off almost immediately. After the party, they both ended up at Goldberg's Bakery, sharing a donut and basking in their newfound love. Every year, on the 7th day of Hanukkah, they throw a party to commemorate their anniversary. Rachel, who lives in Brooklyn, has taken on the responsibility of bringing the donuts from Goldberg's to her parents in New Jersey for the celebration. Now, in the present day, Rachel, who has overslept, is woken up by a call from Joanna, and she quickly prepares for her trip. While waiting in line to pick up her donut order at Goldberg's, a nosy grandma begins to ask Rachel some personal questions. To avoid being rude, Rachel tells the grandma she's waiting for her boyfriend, Adam, who's coming to her parents' party. However, Adam calls, explaining he's caught a cold at the San Diego airport and won't make it. After getting her donuts, Rachel navigates the busy street when a man bumps into her, causing the boxes to fall and the donuts to fly everywhere. Devastated, she watches as the man tries, but fails, to help her pick them up. He apologizes, mentions he has a train to catch, and rushes off, forgetting his dice box, leaving Rachel stunned. She finally arrives home late, and her parents greet her warmly with excited hugs. Though horrified about the donuts, Rachel's parents don't take it to heart, emphasizing that being together is what matters. Joanna wonders why Adam isn't there, and Rachel explains he has an airport cold. In her room, Rachel finds her sister, Shoshana, who asks where Adam is. Playfully, Shoshana reads aloud the email Joanna sent to the family, revealing specific details about Adam, much to Rachel's surprise. When Shoshana learns Adam isn't coming, she's fine with it, admitting he takes up too much space. To Rachel, Adam is captivating, and she wishes she were more like him. Rachel feels like she's lost touch with the younger version of herself. Rachel's parents play their special mixtape, dancing lovingly together. Shoshana, her wife Bex, and son Noah join in, leaving Rachel sitting alone, watching them longingly. The extended family arrives just in time. Uncle Harvey, his son Josh, and cousin Cynthia, who brings pastries. To Rachel's surprise, everyone already knows about Adam's absence, thanks to a group chat by Joanna. Grandma Rosie, eager to set Rachel up, introduces her to Zach, a young man. To Rachel's surprise, Zach is the man who bumped into her earlier on the street, and she's far from pleased to see him. Zach tries to apologize again, but Rachel seems determined to hold on to it. She hands him the dice box he left, and asks how he knows Grandma Rosie. Zach explains he's an art teacher for the elderly at Cedar Hill Terrace. Stan gathers everyone for a heartfelt speech about finding his soulmate. He's glad Shoshana found hers in Bex and hopes Rachel will find hers too. Rachel quickly suggests they light the candles in order to shift the attention away from her. Later, Grandma Rosie gifts Rachel a beautiful antique dreidel passed down in the family, saying it brings light to those who spin it. Touched, Rachel embraces her in a warm hug. Rachel is roped into playing dreidel with Josh, and Grandma Rosie urges her to crush the game. As Rachel spins the antique dreidel, the curtains immediately catch fire, and she quickly alerts everyone. Firefighters arrive and put out the fire, thankfully without any injuries. They discover it was caused by a frayed cord on the lights. Stan is devastated, as the house is supposed to be sold, and Joanna suggests postponing it. Rachel, who doesn't want the house sold, suggests they reconsider, but Stan isn't happy with this, and heads inside. Joanna gently tells Rachel to turn in for the night. The strangest thing happens the next morning, when Rachel finds herself reliving the previous day, with every detail intact, leaving her confused. She tries to tell Shoshana she's stuck in a time loop, but Shoshana brushes it off. Who would actually believe that? The loop repeats itself, always ending with the firefighters. Rachel confides in Zach, but he doesn't take her seriously. She shows him the lights she's fixed, claiming there won't be a fire this time around. However, the fire breaks out from another cause, and Zach eventually believes her. He suggests exchanging numbers so she can call him if the loop happens again, but they realize her number won't be in his phone by then. The next day, Rachel is ready. She stops Zach at the train station, tells him about the time loop, and hands him his dice box. Surprised, Zach joins her, and they go through the same events again. Zach suggests she needs to make a big change, as characters in time loop movies often do, but Rachel feels her life is perfect and can't figure out what needs to change. Grandma Rosie tries to set them up again, praising Rachel as a fabulous writer. Zach curiously wonders if Rachel still writes, but she admits she gave up her dream and is now only an editor. Grandma Rosie disagrees with Rachel's outlook, urging her not to let others dim her shine, which leaves Rachel deep in thought. Later, Zach suggests going through Rachel's old mementos to find something that might fix the time loop. While sorting through a box, Zach discovers an unfinished novel Rachel wrote. He tries to read it, but Rachel quickly snatches it back, insisting they focus on the loop. Zach then gets an idea and takes Rachel to the workshop of his best friend, Seth. After explaining the situation, Seth pulls out comic books about fantasy time travel for Rachel to read. Rachel, feeling overwhelmed, insists she doesn't have time to read all of them, but Seth urges her to trust the process if she must break the time loop. While brainstorming, Seth suggests they figure out the inciting incident causing the loop. Rachel remembers the dreidel Grandma Rosie gave her, and shares that the fire broke out right after she spun it. Zach quickly suggests they examine the dreidel. Back home, the three of them examine the dreidel, and Seth suggests spinning it backward like in the Superman movie. But the party still ends with the fire. Outside, Rachel gets a call from Adam, but it's just a pocket dial. She's been getting these calls since the first night of the party, making Zach suggest they listen to the voicemail. After playing it, Zach notices the background music and identifies it as an all-female band. He quickly looks them up and discovers the band is playing at a bar, where Adam must be. Zach urges Rachel to confront him, and despite her hesitation, they head to the bar together. Rachel spots Adam, who's supposed to be sick, dancing and enjoying the music. Though she tries to leave, Zach convinces her to confront him. She finally works up the courage, only for Adam to shockingly break up with her, saying they're not a good fit. Now, Rachel must relive the breakup every day in the time loop. The situation is definitely getting worse. While nursing her heartbreak with drinks, she opens up to Zach, sharing the story of how she met Adam. Despite helping Andy with almost everything, Rachel still got dumped. Zach reveals she's too focused on helping others and neglects herself in the process, something he understands well. He spends his time teaching art to the elderly when he really wants to be a comic book illustrator. Afterwards, Zach comforts Rachel, urging her to forget Adam. He tells her she's smart, beautiful, and has a great family, prompting Rachel to jokingly say that the first rule of time loop movies is not to fall in love with the girl in the loop. It seems the dreidel worked, and Zach realizes it's past midnight. He suggests they turn in for the night and go out together the next day, if the time loop has stopped. Rachel hopes the loop is over, but Zach is all in, even if he has to spend every day with her forever. Looks like Zach is falling for the time loop girl. The next morning, reality hits when Rachel wakes up still stuck in the time loop. At the comic shop, Rachel grows frustrated and looks for more books. Zach, who sees her as a stranger all over again, shares with Seth that Rachel surprised him at the train station with detailed information about him. Andy, who also works at the shop, suggests Rachel's stuck in the loop because something's wrong with her personality. He asks about her job, and her sarcastic reply makes Andy ask if there's something else she'd love to do. Rachel reveals her unfinished novel, admitting her fear of rejection, failure, and feedback. Andy suggests they read it and give feedback. The three of them go through the manuscript over Cheetos, and Rachel takes notes. When Rachel asks Zach for his feedback, he admits he loves it, but she doesn't believe him. She heads over to him and discovers Zach has sketched a drawing of her, leaving her amazed and wondering if that's how he sees her. Before they can talk more, the alarm for lighting the Hanukkah candles interrupts them. Back home, Rachel gets upset when she learns Zach shared the manuscript with Cynthia, snapping at him before storming off to her room. Stan talks to Rachel, sharing how he once felt stuck after being dumped, but his brother Harvey helped him step out of his comfort zone, leading him to meet Joanna. He suggests Rachel needs to do the same, and she realizes it's time for a change. The next morning, Rachel wakes up in the time loop again. While arranging pastries with Zach, she has an idea that the donuts from Goldberg's might hold the key to fixing the loop. The donuts never make it to the party, which could be the problem. Rachel and Zach head to the shop, where Seth suggests they use a van instead of the train, in order to get the donuts there unscathed. The plan is for Rachel to pick up Seth and Zach the next day when she wakes up in the time loop, so they can grab the donuts from Goldberg's. Zach doubts it will work, thinking it's unlikely he'd get in a van with a stranger, but Rachel assures him he always believes her. However, Zach proves her wrong the next morning, refusing to get in the van, but when Rachel mentions his dice box, and Seth already being inside, he finally agrees to join them. They reach Goldberg's, where the nosy grandma catches Rachel's attention again. When Adam calls to say he's sick, Rachel breaks up with him this time and hangs up. Back inside the shop, Zach convinces Rachel to invite the grandma to the Hanukkah party after she reveals she has no one to spend it with. When they pick up Grandma Rosie, Rachel is surprised to learn that the nosy grandma is Mildred, a former schoolmate of Grandma Rosie. With the donuts safe in the van, things seem to be going smoothly. Zach admits they make a good team, leading to an intense moment where Rachel leans in, and they share a passionate kiss. They arrive at the house, and Rachel carefully carries the donuts inside. However, she's shocked to see Adam chatting freely with her parents. She quickly pulls him aside, and he admits he doesn't want to lose her. The doorbell rings, and Rachel goes to open the door for Grandma Rosie and the rest of the group. But Adam appears beside her, introducing himself as her boyfriend, which leaves Zach feeling sad. Grandma Rosie steps in, sending Zach to the van. Once he leaves, she skillfully pairs Adam with Mildred and urges Rachel to go after Zach. Outside, Rachel catches up with him and tries to explain, insisting she broke up with Adam. But Zach is frustrated. He feels stuck, as it's only one day for him while Rachel has already lived through this many times. Despite her attempt to explain, he stops her and heads inside, leaving her feeling sad about the turn of events. Inside, Cynthia compliments Rachel's novel, sharing how Rachel's storytelling inspired her to go into publishing. She offers to pitch the novel to publishers, and Rachel eagerly agrees. During Stan's speech, Grandma Rosie advises Zach not to let Rachel slip away. She tells him he needs to take control of his life, as it's what his grandfather would have wanted, though Zach remains skeptical. After the candles are lit, Grandma Rosie pulls Rachel aside and gifts her the dreidel. She mentions that Rachel has been using it, which leaves Rachel greatly surprised. She wonders if the dreidel would stop the time loop, but Grandma Rosie urges her to spin it and find out for herself. Luckily, no fire breaks out this time, and Rachel even wins the games. It seems the time loop has ended. Afterward, Zach grabs his coat to leave, but Seth stops him, urging him not to let Rachel go because their connection is rare. However, Zach feels it's not meant to be and walks away. The next morning, Rachel wakes up to realize the time loop is finally over. She's overwhelmed with excitement, jumping and screaming in joy. Stan enters just then, and Rachel runs to hug him in excitement. When Stan tries to spin the dreidel on Rachel's table, she stops him, afraid of returning to the time loop. Stan reveals that the dreidel only triggers a time loop if spun on the 7th night in the presence of soulmates. Rachel is shocked to learn he spun it before meeting Joanna, and that Shoshana had spun it too. She feels sad about Zach, but Stan reassures her that the dreidel only takes her so far and encourages her to create her own miracle. He reminds her that love is messy and suggests they need a good plan, pulling Rachel into a comforting hug. Later at the art exhibit lunch, Grandma Rosie slyly mentions that Zach is in the back room, encouraging Rachel to talk to him. No matter what happens, she's proud of Rachel for putting herself out there and starting her writing career again. Rachel tries to return the dreidel, but Grandma Rosie urges her to protect it instead. Later, Rachel gathers the courage to approach Zach. Despite their scary encounter and the fact Zach doesn't remember much, Rachel feels they are worth fighting for. Zach admits his feelings but is hesitant since he just met her, wanting to protect himself because Rachel has a lot going on. Rachel suddenly realizes his vintage dice case is meant to protect the dreidel, not dice, and places it inside, covering the box. When Zach covers her hand with the box, he suddenly gets a magical recollection of every memory they've shared and all the time loops. Amazed by the memories, he leans in for a passionate kiss, drawing cheers from everyone present. The following year, Rachel and Zach pick up the donuts from Goldberg's as an official couple. The anniversary party is celebrated at Shoshana and Bex's house, with everyone joyful, and Rachel has finally found her soulmate. Miracles really do happen.